How good did it feel picking up or getting that first like hard copy and holding it in your hands?
It's pretty cool. I didn't tear up to that. I teared up when the people in the book saw that they were in the endorsements or the acknowledgments. That's when I teared up, was when they were happy about it and giving it to their friends and hearing things like, I gave everyone a book for Christmas. That's when I was like, oh God, that's the reason we do this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, anchoring on the human aspect and like the storytelling piece, right? Whenever you're, regardless of the topic, if you can anchor on like people and personal anecdotes, I always just find it's a more compelling book. So I'll have to jump over and scoop it up because it sounds like right up my alley of like stuff I'd be interested in. Can you talk a little bit more about like your partner and your partnership? Because I think that's super compelling too. I'd love to hear about how you guys balance each other. Like you mentioned, he's technical. You're a little bit, it sounds like more on like the business side. Talk about how you guys balance and how you were able to kind of work together to, eventually get this out the door.
We are like the perfect match in every way. And in terms of strengths and weaknesses, complementary, and you'd never believe it. I wouldn't have believed it 10 years ago because he's double my age. He lives in Ohio where I live on a coast. And he is a nerdy, deep learning, former punk rocker. And I am like a idiot finance and accounting person that jumped into sales that is young and rebellious, right? And so you would think at the outside. But we always agreed on sort of like the humanistic element of the future of work. And we also had a similar path where we were outsiders, more working class, and so we could relate on that. And so when we met, it was just a very, 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 and I think this is common across all freelancing relationships. We started by just working on a very, very small piece of work. And I think it was like $500 of him to just take 5 hours to edit it based off of how, high value it is. And then from there, it turned into how can we keep working together? How can we collaborate together? To the point now that, I've hung out at his house when he's making pancakes for his kids. Every single company I start, he'll forever be an advisor. And if he has time, he'll potentially co-found it. But, man, I got to be able to, he's got kids.
Cool. Yeah. No, I love that. That's so cool. And you guys met on Upwork, is that right?
Yeah, met on Upwork. We it's funny, we never actually met in person until the book was almost done. So halfway through the book, so it was him, and it was actually the best project manager I've ever worked with in my life, and I think in the world, is a woman named Sam Mason. She was an editor that I met also on Upwork, but she's the best PM I've ever worked with in my life. And so we treated the book like a software program. We had 15 plus freelancers, and Sam was the PM that made it happen. So Matt and I would literally just wake up at 6 a.m., do our 3 hours of writing, and then every Friday we would just get grilled by her about, this is what you said you'd commit, this is where we stand, this is what we have to do next. She was the best in the world. But we never met in person until halfway through the book. We had a 48-hour hackathon in Cincinnati at her house, a bunch of pizza. The joke too was like all age ranges, right? Like you see, like she could have age-wise, like she's a son that's my age as well. But so yeah, it's you don't need to be physical at first or be in person at first, but it was a final punch of, oh my God, this is a blast. And I didn't tell them. I said we're gonna show up at a park, and I did a mock wedding shoot. So we showed up. There's like a photographer, and they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Haha, you do a mock wedding shoot. Like, I have no money. Our budget is so small, but we can afford this."
That's a super inspiring story though. That people always think like you have to be in the physical location in order to like be productive and like get stuff done. But to be honest, I think you did a lot of things that are super smart. One was getting all the right people in place, right? You had 3 different people, all different skills that balanced each other. Everyone was very committed, like to the goal. Like there was no weak links in the chain. Everyone was kind of all fully pot committed on what you wanted to get done. And then the last is, it sounds like, everybody in the group seems like they're also very like resourceful and like scrappy. Like they wanted to get it done. They were managing whatever else was going on in their personal lives, but they all kind of still came back and were able to deliver their parts of it. Whether you were PMing or writing it, like everybody kind of came together. So that's super cool, because I think like finding a good team and having someone there to support like a partnership and going into a company, writing a book, anything can really make sure that you have a soundboard, somebody that's bounce ideas off of, but also keep you motivated. So I love everything about that story. I love like hearing I think I like hearing the failures and the missteps the most, but that's so cool that you were able to get it done. On that remote piece, go ahead, man.
Yeah, just one point to you, Ryan. Like in terms of from a leadership perspective, I've been hiring people since I was like 22 years old. Yeah. And the traditional path is you have to really, really, really just get your stripes, right? And put your time in 10 plus years, then you become a manager where you actually have budget, you can hire people. In the freelance economy, that doesn't exist. I would just eat, and I would eat at the office because in Silicon Valley, they provide you lunch at dinner. Weekends, I just wouldn't eat, and I would take the excess money that I had, which was so little because San Francisco is so expensive, and I would spend that on hiring freelancers. And not only was the impact of the outcome important, but it built my bench so that when I walked into Microsoft, I was already a leader. I was already operating at a director level because I had these 15 plus people that I had worked with prior that were designers, developers, writers, researchers. Yeah. It was awesome. So, no matter how young you are right now, you have an opportunity to be a leader, meaning to get a tribe together to really, really jam on things that you're passionate about. And it starts by just saying, let's work on this small little thing. And I have no money, but that's okay because you're a freelancer, you have other projects. And as long as you're passionate about this, you're going to want to jam together.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Design Huddle. The opinions expressed are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our employer.